There are a few questions that I get asked all the time. How do you learn to hear chord changes instead of just reading chord symbols? How do I stop getting lost when I'm playing through a jazz standard? And how do I quickly find the notes I need when I'm learning a new tune? Today, I'm going to show you one simple shape that can help with all three. It's a shape I use every day. I use it as a warm-up to keep my ears and my fingers connected in all 12 keys, and I use it whenever I'm learning a new chord sequence. I'll show you how to use it on 2-5-1s, which means that you can apply it to hundreds of jazz standards. And as you start to absorb the sound of this shape, you'll find that you can hear the harmony more clearly, find your way around your instrument more easily, and you can start building the fluency to navigate chord changes with more freedom and confidence. I've made a free PDF that covers everything in today's video, including the shape in all 12 keys, a really useful daily practice warm-up routine to make sure you've got it under your fingers, and also how to use it to learn jazz standards. There's a link below in the description. Okay, here's the shape. It doesn't sound like much on its own. This is what it sounds like on a 2-5-1. Still pretty simple. It's not a flashy lick, but there's a lot more going on in this little shape than it might at first seem. Let me show you what I mean. Let's take a 2-5-1 in C. So that's D minor 7, G7, and C major 7, or sometimes C major 6. Here's how the first part of the shape fits over the 2 and the 5. We start on D, that's the root of D minor 7. Then we move straight up the chord tones, D, F, A, and C. So we're spelling out the whole D minor 7 chord. Then, just as the harmony changes to G7, we move one step down from C to B. And B is the third of G7. It's one of the notes that tells our ear most clearly what that chord is. That little movement from C to B makes the change from the 2 chord to the 5 chord really clear. Listen again. Now listen to exactly the same thing without the chords underneath. Even without any accompaniment, you can still hear that harmonic movement really clearly. And at the same time, on the instrument, we've got all the notes of the 2 chord under our fingers, plus that crucial third of the 5 chord. So that one little shape is doing 2 jobs at once. It's helping us hear the chord movement, and it's helping us find it on our instrument. So that's the 2 moving to the 5. What happens when we resolve to the 1? We just take the same shape, and we start it on C, the root of the 1 chord. We move up the chord tones again, C, E, G, and B, root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. So that gives us the whole C major 7 chord. And then, just like before, the final note moves down by a step. This time we move from B to A, and A is the 6th of C major. I mentioned a moment ago that in a 2-5-1, you'll often see the 1 chord written as either a major 7 or a major 6. With this shape, we actually hear both colours, the major 7 and the major 6. Listen again. So now here's the whole 2-5-1. And now, here it is again with no accompaniment at all. That's what I love about this shape. Even with no piano, bass or backing track underneath, you can still hear the 2-5-1 really clearly. You can hear where the harmony's going and where it resolves. That's exactly why it's so useful and so much more than just a lick. Don't forget to get the free PDF. It shows you how to find the shape in all 12 keys, the daily warm-up that we're going to get to in a minute, and how to apply it to a tune. This is a shape that I use all the time, particularly when I'm learning a new tune. Let's take a tune that's full of 2-5-1s, Pent-Up House by Sonny Rollins. Here's the sequence in concert pitch. There's fully transposed notation for B-flat, E-flat, F, and bass clef instruments in the free PDF if you want to work through this yourself. It starts off with a 2-5-1 in G. That's A minor 7, D7, and G major 7. So let's apply our shape. To find it, we need to start on A, the root of the 2 chord A minor 7. Then we move up all the chord tones, A, C, E and G, and then finish off by moving down a step to F sharp. That's the 3rd of D7. In this form, the 2 chord and the 5 chord both last a whole bar each, so we'll need to stretch the shape out to fit. And this is where we can start getting a little more creative with the rhythm. We could just play 4 quarter notes. That works, but it's not very interesting. So let's just improvise a little with the rhythm. Nothing complicated, and it doesn't have to be identical every time. The important thing is that we fit those 4 notes somewhere over the A minor 7 chord, and then land on the F sharp as the D7 arrives. We can anticipate a little too, maybe land on the F sharp just before the chord changes. That would work as well. The point is, we just want to play around with the rhythm and let our ears tell us what works. Then we land on G major 7. And we find the second part of the shape exactly the same way. Start on G, move up through the chord tones, G, B, D and F sharp, and then move down a step to E. Then the next 4 bars give us exactly the same 2-5-1 again, so we can reuse the same sound. If I apply the shape across the first 8 bars, it sounds like this. I'm not going to play the rhythm exactly the same way every time, and that's the point. I'm keeping the same basic shape and the same harmonic landmarks, but I'm starting to loosen up the rhythm. Now, here's exactly the same 8 bars with no accompaniment. Even without a backing track, by playing this shape clearly, we can still hear and feel where we are in the form. And when we're learning a new tune, that's really valuable. If we can spell out the harmony clearly on our instrument using a simple shape like this and spend time playing through it without accompaniment, we start to connect much more deeply with the form. Over time, that helps us keep our place confidently and independently, rather than relying on the rhythm section to tell us where we are. Next up, we get a couple of 2-5s that don't actually resolve to their 1 chords. So here, we just use the first half of the shape. First, we have D minor 7 to G7. Then immediately we get another 2-5, C minor 7 to F7. Here they are back to back with no backing track. Can you hear the harmony? In just 4 bars, we've moved away from the home key and through 2 different 2-5s. But because I'm outlining each one with the same shape, I can hear those movements clearly and feel how the sequence connects on the instrument. Finally, we return to the original 2-5-1 in G. That's A minor 7, D7 and G major 7. So now here's the whole sequence using nothing but this shape and no accompaniment. I'll play through it a couple of times. At first I'll keep the shape fairly clear, and then as I get comfortable with it, I'll start embellishing it a little, changing the rhythm, leaving some space, delaying things or anticipating things. Nothing is pre-planned, I'm just keeping the underlying shape and the sound of the harmony in my ear and starting to play with it. The goal is for it to stop feeling like an exercise and start becoming a musical tool. Jazz standards are full of 2-5-1s, and that means that they're full of opportunities to use this shape. But we need to be ready, and that's where this warm-up comes in. The point of the warm-up is to make this sound so familiar that you can find it quickly whenever you need it. Whenever you're learning a new tune, whenever the changes are moving quickly, or when the harmony takes you into an unfamiliar key. So what I like to do with a shape like this is move it through all 12 keys. You could move it around the cycle of fifths if you like. Personally, I like moving chromatically through the keys. So if I start on a 2-5-1 in C, that would be D minor 7, G7, and C major 7. It sounds like this. Then I move the whole thing down a semitone to B. So now the 2-5-1 is C sharp minor 7, F sharp 7, and B major 7. And after that, down another semitone to B flat. And so on until I've moved through all 12 keys and got back to C again where I started. Now that might sound daunting, and I've been working with this shape for a long time, so I can get around the keys quite fluently now, but that didn't happen immediately. Don't feel as though you need to master all the 12 keys straight away. Start with just 2 keys, so maybe just C and B. Practice them in one practice session until they feel comfortable, then come back the next day and see whether you can still find them comfortably. If you can, add another 1 or 2 keys, so then you would be playing C, B, B flat and A. If you can't, then just stay with the first 2 keys for as long as you need to. After a while, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer, you'll notice that getting around all 12 keys starts to feel much easier. More importantly, the sound itself starts becoming familiar, and eventually you'll find this shape beginning to creep into your improvising. I won't work through every key in the video, but everything is laid out and notated in the PDF, so you can take your time with it rather than having to calculate every key as you go. So the warm-up works like this. To begin with, play the shape twice in each key. Then, once you've made it all the way around and that feels comfortable, play it just once in each key. Everything you need to work through Pent-Up House yourself and to start applying this same idea to other tunes is in the PDF, along with the 12-key warm-up and everything else that we've covered today. This is one of the most valuable things that you can do in your practice. Come back to it often and make it part of your routine. The more deeply you absorb a few useful shapes like this, the more clearly you start to hear common harmonic movements like 2-5-1s, and the more quickly you can find them on your instrument without having to calculate every chord in real time. Over time, these shapes start to become part of the way that you hear harmony, and that is where the freedom comes from. But there's one really important next step. Once you've learned a shape like this, you need to know how to pull it apart and work with it creatively, so that it stops being a memorized pattern and becomes something that you can turn into hundreds of different phrases and make part of your own vocabulary. That's exactly what I explore in this next video, so click there if you'd like to take this a step further. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.